again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video, another Newcastle United video. You remember that club that I decided I would start supporting in 2005? You know, the richest club in the land. You know, we didn't need to get into it. It still doesn't feel real at the moment. I'm going to be such a cocky shit forever if this goes the way we think it will. But okay, the news is starting to come out now that Newcastle is going to have, in accordance with financial fair play, about £190 million to spend in January. 190. Did we ever spend that much at all under Mike Ashley? Yeah, sure, we probably did. But I mean, oh my God, in one window, I could actually cry. Look, the celebrations, I still haven't even cleaned up this. You're seeing all this confetti down here. I still haven't cleaned any of that up. But anyway, I'm going to today talk about some of the transfers and the players I would like to see Newcastle United go for and sign. And I'm going to try to keep this, while within reason and within expectation, realistic. I'm not going to say, let's actually go for like a Kylian Mbappe type. You're not going to see that here. So we're going to start from goalkeeper defense to midfielders to attackers. And we'll start off with goalkeepers. And to be honest with you, as a Newcastle United fan, I don't think we need a new goalkeeper. I really don't think the money needs to be spent there at all. Martin Dubravka is a solid, great goalkeeper. I have no problems with him whatsoever. And even Carl Darlow last season was quite exceptional. He had a really good stretch of games where he was literally not letting Martin Dubravka get back into the team. And then maybe he started to slip a little bit, and I think he's been injured or something. So I think that we don't need to worry about a goalkeeper. But if we were to go for a goalkeeper, I think the only guy that maybe would be an intriguing shout would be Callum Navas. I mean, 34 years of age, getting on a fair bit, still got a couple of years left on his contract still with PSG, but he's a world-class goalkeeper. Yeah, he's not going to really be sticking around for that much longer, I don't think. He's only got about like, a couple of years tops left in his career, but he's not really going to be playing that much at PSG now that Donnarumma is there. Maybe somehow we could strike up a deal, but I would not be paying any more than like 20 mil for this guy. Hell, if even that. Even with all the money that we now seem to have a blank check, I really wouldn't want to pay that much. Got to remember too, Cristiano Ronaldo was only bought for £25 million purely because of the fact that he's basically almost 40. But I don't think signing a goalkeeper is necessary at all in this season. So let's focus on defenders. One centre back I think we definitely should go for, and I think is probably maybe one of the more realistic signings, is going to be James Tarkowski. Now, obviously, very quality centre back that's been doing very well for Burnley for many years now. And with him being in the last year of his contract and with Burnley not seemingly going anywhere, I get the feeling that he would be a very good shout. And I reckon he'd be up 100% for joining Newcastle. I think he would be a very realistic and a good signing for us. Other players we could go for, I had a suspicion about Nathan Ake. I know that he's maybe been a bit lackluster for Manchester City, but he was terrific at Bournemouth, and I think he is a quality, like he can have his day. He can be a decent defender, and I don't really think he's been able to show that at Manchester City. He's been able to make, I think, a handful of appearances for them this season, but I would like to see if maybe he can recapture his better form and even maybe get better if he comes to Newcastle. Not sure if he is probably the preferred signing over Tarkowski. And then maybe there's a handful of other players I'm intrigued by the prospect of, like what's happened to Eric Bailly. I thought there was a lot of hype and a lot of potential around this man, and he's not really able to crack into the starting 11 at all. I don't know what's going on there. Is that another player that really is not getting any game time that could be up for a move? I'm not sure. Moving over to the midfielders, and these are more specifically your more defensive mids. One guy I really like the look of right now is actually Decore from Everton. I think he's had a sensational start to the season over there at Everton, and even last season he was doing bloody great, and he's a player that could play in almost any position in the midfield. He's got like, I don't know, a decent amount of goal contributions already, despite really being a defensive mid. 2 goals, 4 assists in 7 games so far for Everton. That is not a bad return at all, and just on top of that, playing just in generally great. Think he'd be a very nice shout. Another guy would be Calvin Phillips, of course. I think Manchester United are going in for him in January. Imagine if they got him in instead of, say, Fred or McTominay. Calvin Phillips would be a great signing for them, and I think he'll probably end up going to Manchester United. But if somehow we could finesse our way into that, I think he'd be a terrific signing. One player I think maybe could be tempted into a move. He's a very good player, and I think he deserves, he could get a big move if to an already established big top 4 height, like, you know, very well performing team. And that's Yuri Tielemans. Leicester have maybe gotten off to a bit of a mixed start this season. So I don't know how he's feeling currently at the moment, but I heard people saying that Youri Tielemans was going to be on his way to some possibly really big clubs in the future. I think he would be an amazing get. And another option I was thinking of was actually out of the two defensive midfielders at West Ham, I think Declan Rice is less likely to want to move to Newcastle than, for whatever reason, Thomas Souček would be. That would be a very tough transfer to make happen. I think the same with Youri Tielemans, because you're taking two very key players out of their teams right there. But maybe depending on what the player's feeling, if we could manipulate a club into a move possibly with a decent enough transfer fee, Souček I think would be a big signing and a big get for us. But there's some of the more defensive midfielders that I was thinking of. Now let's have a look at some, just typical centre mids to attacking mids. And one guy, I don't know if it would happen, and I'm not even really sure how he'd perform in this Newcastle United team, but it's kind of almost at this point like I feel Newcastle have a responsibility to do it for this man. Donny van de Beek is still stuck at Manchester United. His career is fading away, and when he was at Ajax, he looked sensational. He looked like he was on for special things. Maybe not to the same degree as Frankie de Jong or some of the other players in that team, but I swear this guy deserves way better than what he has gotten at Manchester United. He deserves playing time. He would get that here in Newcastle in this team. And who knows, maybe he can revive his career here, re-find his form and continue to get better. Would that be possible? I think we could pay possibly £10 million less than what Manchester United paid for him, because his market value has clearly dropped a ton. So maybe we could get ourselves, maybe not a bargain, even if we're paying almost exactly what United paid for him. I think I wouldn't pay that though. I'd pay a little bit less, but who knows? Possibly. I think it's a move that he needs, and it's a move that maybe could work out great for us. One guy that I would absolutely love to get into this team, like I'm talking possible future captain, it's actually James Ward-Prowse. He is a sensational player, which I could not believe. I know it's tough to break into the England national team right now, that is for sure, especially with the way Southgate likes to set up, how he plays guys like Phillips and Rice, two holding defensive more midfielders. So maybe it was more tricky for James Ward-Prowse to get, to get a cap. But I think he's going to be, he is a sensational player. His crossing ability, he's a free kick specialist. He's absolutely sensational. He's a brilliant, brilliant playmaker as well. I genuinely do want this man. I think he signed recently a pretty decent contract at Southampton, but gosh, I would love him. I don't know if he is a super realistic option, but I think he probably knows, compared to what maybe Newcastle could be on the verge of doing versus Southampton right now, that it'd probably be a good move for him in his career. But again, I'm telling you, James Ward-Prowse, this guy could go to easily a club already fighting for European football. But imagine we got him. I don't particularly know what the situation is with Aaron Ramsey either. He is nearly 30 years of age, currently at Juventus, and currently I don't even know if he's playing at the moment. It's another weird one. I get the feeling he would again be a decent, very handy midfielder for Newcastle to have. Again, has that Premier League experience over at Arsenal. He's obviously been good enough to get himself a pretty decent, sizable move to Juventus. I think that he should be okay. For whatever reason, he's not playing in the Juventus team. And I think maybe he's been a little lackluster, but maybe Juventus would be up for a move. Maybe he'd be up for a return back to, to Britain. And maybe possibly that could be a transfer as well. I would love for us to sign like 3 midfielders in January, maybe another striker and a defender. Got 5 signings with about 200 million to spend, about 40 million pounds per player. Oh my God, that would be sensational. Maybe a handful more attacking mids kind of that I'm thinking of is like Jesse Lingard. I'm sure he's absolutely frothing at the mouth for the fact that he's now playing with Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United, but maybe not having the same sort of, he's not been bad by any stretch of the imagination, but Jesse Lingard has, maybe not been as on fire as he was for West Ham. I think he's been doing okay, but if he wants to play every single game, maybe a move to Newcastle could be on for him, and hopefully he can recapture his form at West Ham for us. And then the big one, and this is one that has been talked about a lot. A lot of people have mentioned this man's name. A certain man that once played in the Premier League for Liverpool, got his move to Barcelona for an unbelievable amount of money. I think it was like nearly 200 million pounds. It was definitely about 150. And now I wouldn't pay 30 million for him. Maybe 40. But I don't know. Philip Coutinho. I'm not sure. I just don't know if Philip Coutinho, I feel like he's damaged goods. He's nearly 30 years of age. I know that he has not been anywhere near as good for Barcelona, but Barcelona, I know that they're also in a dire situation and they're trying to raise as many funds as possible. I would not pay a third of what they paid for that man now. I wouldn't. And that was years. It's only been a couple of years since he went there. If we could get Philip Coutinho, and we could get him for less than £40 million, maybe pull the trigger. But I'm honestly kind of hoping we go for other players aside from Coutinho. I'm not sure if he would come back in the Premier League and immediately just within a couple of months sort of go right back to the star player that he was, or even a sliver of the star player that he was at Liverpool. I'm honestly hoping that this transfer doesn't happen. And I'm on record for saying that, because if it does, and he ends up being great, I'll own up to it. But if he ends up not being great, and we get fucking relegated, I'm blaming him, and I'm saying that I should be nominated for the next director of football. Okay, though. A lot of attacking mids right there. It's just a lot of centre midfielders as well. Look, like I'm telling you, we need midfielders. We don't necessarily need wingers all that much, but we could find another really class winger to accommodate Alan Saint-Maximin. And I think the most realistic option is Ismail Assar from Watford. Holy crap, could you imagine being a defense going up against Manchester United, facing a counter-attack, having Alan Saint-Maximin and Ismail Assar running at you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You may as well just bend over and pray to your God, whatever one it is, because oh my lord, this is a move I think would almost definitely happen. In fact, of all the transfers, possible signings that I've mentioned today, this would arguably be the most realistic, maybe right up there with Tarkowski, I think. This kid is a baller for Watford. Watford look like they're going to go down into the Premier League. They're going to leave the Premier League. They will be relegated. So why not secure yourself a move that should hopefully improve your odds, at the very least, of staying in the Premier League, getting yourself a nice fat contract, and actually really being, and you know, again, at the only age of like 23 or so, definitely feel like he's got a lot of room to grow as well as a player, as a footballer, alongside Alan Saint-Maximin. That could be a deadly partnership. Another winger, which would again be, I think, another like big, huge, massive sort of statement signing. And bear with me on this one, Raheem Sterling, 26 years of age, should really be in his prime. With the contract that runs out next year and in some form with Manchester City that is nowhere near his prime, nowhere near his peak. He has not been playing as great for Man City for the last 18 months or so. Obviously had a sensational Euro campaign, was doing great with England, but for whatever reason, it's just not really happening for him at Manchester City. We're seeing Ferran Torres and Jack Grealish being played way more than, say, Raheem Sterling is currently at the moment. And the same also goes for Riyad Mahrez. Riyad Mahrez could also even maybe be a possible shout too, you know. I think Mahrez's contract also runs out within about a year, and not in this season, but I think next season, although he's 30. Sterling is obviously English, bit younger. I think he would cost a shitload of money. I don't know how much we'd have to pay for him. He'd probably be close to £100 million as well, I would probably say. So I don't know if we should spend half of our possible budget in January on one guy, but again, it would be a statement signing. And one maybe final winger sort of slash possible option for us up top as well. And I think, again, tell me what you think of this one. Surprisingly, haven't seen him linked with us all that often, which I thought would be a pretty good move for both teams. It's Wilfred Zaha of Crystal Palace. This guy who's clearly been carrying that Crystal Palace team for a very, very long time. He has always been just the standout in that team for so many years. It's not really done a super amount with his career, or more with his career that I think he could have. This could be a chance for him to come to a team with serious ambition, apparently now with a real good chance of pushing up the league and doing special things in a few years. And yeah, sure, in a few years he might be in his 30s, but he could be there along for the ride. I think Zaha could also be maybe an option. And finally, some strikers. Now, we have got currently at the moment Callum Wilson, and that is it. I don't even really know if it's fair to bring up Dwight Gale and Joel Linton as capable number 9s, because my word, I'm harsh on Joel Linton because his hold-up play is nice. He gets played on the wing from time to time, and he's actually not too bad there. But my man, you're a striker, and you've got I don't even know, 7 league goals in your entire career with us. I don't even know, man. It's just not worked out. It's been a dire transfer. So we desperately need a backup for Callum Wilson, who is currently getting injured quite a lot, and he's not reliable. He's reliable in front of goal if he's fit and healthy, but he's not reliable to stay fit and healthy. Keeping with the trend of very good players that aren't really getting a super amount of game time at Big Six clubs like Manchester United, like Anthony Martial. I think he maybe could potentially be a transfer for us where he could come to us, he could recapture his form, and I think he would be a deadly striker for us in our team. I think he would be a sensational striker for us. I really do believe that if Anthony Martial came to Newcastle, he would have a fine career. And I think hopefully he'd be able to lock down that starting spot. Depends on if we ended up going for Mbappe. I don't know. But no, I think Martial for now would be a very nice, very handy, very reliable striker. And I think he would regain his form quite quickly. I mean, fuck it. I would love to get him almost Edison Cavani. Because Edison Cavani right now, that guy's a workhorse. He is a killer. But I get the feeling the pecking order right now for that striker position at Manchester United is Cristiano Ronaldo, Edison Cavani, and then Martial. Which is why if you can't go for the first best or the second best, maybe you go for the third best. You know, like Django Unchained. Oh my God. Oh, did I just make that joke? God damn you, Quentin Tarantino. All right, one more player. And that player is actually, I think, a player which has been reportedly linked with Newcastle for a bit. Not sure if it's going to happen, but I'm only chucking this man in here because I probably wouldn't have put him on my list. But the fact that he's being linked with us, and he's kind of like the first real high-profile name that has been linked with Newcastle, it's Maro Icardi from PSG, and I don't know, I'm kind of like not totally sold, but maybe. I think if I go for any of the three strikers I mentioned today, I'd probably go for Martial. But Maro Icardi is it's a possibility. Clearly was good for Inter. I think he was decent for PSG, although it's obviously been very hard for him to crack into the front three with the stupid amount of quality that they have in that team. So it depends really on how many games and how many minutes he's played. Has that affected his performance levels at this stage and his form if he were to join? But I feel like it would be, I'm sure we'd still get some goals out of him. I'm sure we'd still find a way for him to be a capable player in the Premier League for this team. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, those are a handful of players that I think Newcastle could, and I'm not saying should go for, but players that maybe I'd be pretty okay with signing, you know. There are so many players I would love for us to go for, but I've tried to come up with a list of, within reason, what we might see, the type of players that Newcastle could go for in January. So let's say with about 200 million to spend, you spend 40 million pounds on average for 5 players, because I think we need to, instead of going for one big, huge, high quality player, a statement signing, we need to just overhaul the squad with 5 new starting 11 players that are going to be good enough to get us out of the drop zone. I think the first player we go for is James Tarkowski at centre back. Obviously, I think you could probably pay about 30 to 35 million pound for him. I think maybe 30 million pound flat. But with him being in the last year of his contract, I reckon we could snag him off of Burnley for about 20 to 25. Let's say 25 mil. Tell you what, let's actually just make it a 20 million flat for Tarkowski. Because, I mean, come on. That is 20 million that you're getting for a 28-year-old centre-back in the last year of his contract, Burnley. You would be anyone would be happy with that. 2 midfielders I would love for us to go for out of everyone mentioned, I think would probably be Callum Phillips and then maybe James Ward-Prowse. They'd be my personal picks out of everyone that I mentioned today. I'd love to go for those 2. I don't know exactly how much we would have to pay, but I would like to think with Ward-Prowse having a fair bit on his contract, we'd have to pay about the same amount for him as we would for Phillips. I think Phillips is the better player, or at least has the higher market value at the moment. But I reckon Ward-Prowse, despite that, I mean, with the years that he's got left on his contract, let's say 100 million to split the 2. I reckon, let's say about 50 million for Calvin Phillips and about 50 million for Ward-Prowse. I can see that happening. That's about 120 million. Ismail Assar at Watford is probably going to be about a 30 million pound signing as well. So that would pretty well take it to exactly 150 million. And then Anthony Martial, if we are only spending 190 million, could we squeeze him for 40? I doubt it. I think he also would probably be about 50 million or so as well. But those 5 players, if the negotiating skills are somewhat decent enough, I think there's a possibility to grab 5 absolutely quality players here that pretty well all of them are Premier League proven and have performed well in this league. I think those 5 players could definitely make sure that we do not get relegated this season. And most of them are actually still, you know, got a fair few bit of, like, they've got plenty of years left in their careers. But yeah, just a couple of signings that I think I'd be keen for. Let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think Newcastle United should be going for in the January transfer window? If you are enjoying the Newcastle United content and you want more of it as well, then please let me know in the comments down below. Liking the video, of course, will give it a massive boost as well, and just continue to make me know that yes, I should keep making more Newcastle United content. And hey, Why the hell wouldn't I? In fact, I haven't done like a rebuild yet. Haven't done anything with them in FIFA since the takeover was announced, but I'm strongly thinking of maybe them being the career mode that we do after Wrexham. I mean, I don't want now everyone to think, oh my God, just finished the Wrexham career mode now, but that's almost definitely what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. Thank you all so much for watching, lads. You're the best. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you all for the next one, and bye-bye.